I think clearly the EMS space appears to be very promising. If you look at the long-term growth trajectory, even the government of India wants to promote, the sector in a big way. My sense is that globally also India is now becoming a very important sourcing hub for electronic components. So I think that adds more value to these companies. As far as valuations are concerned, I think both the companies, Dixon Technologies as well as Kaynes Technologies, they attract a lot of scarcity premium, and that is why valuations are extremely expensive as of now. But if you look at the next 2 to 3 years earnings growth trajectory, the kind of order book these companies enjoy, I would suggest that both these companies can be added to your portfolio provided you buy on declines and take a slightly longer term call here. The growth trajectory is definitely there, but I think at these levels, if one were to buy, maybe one could have to wait a while before one gets a decent risk reward. But Kaynes technology appears to be more promising. I think my sense is that they are now entering the promising semiconductor space, which obviously in the next say 2.5 3 years could actually see the revenue contribution coming in. So Kaynes at around the current odd levels can be acquired. As far as Dixon is concerned, we have a hold. We believe that on declines, this company could definitely do well because the opportunity in the hardware outsourcing space is a very promising opportunity, and we have just scratched the surface. So I think there's a lot of runway ahead. So I think longer term, both these companies should do well. Yeah, I think this is one of the only large gaming companies which is listed in India, and I think as rightly pointed out, I think their entire growth trajectory has come about even in the past by inorganic acquisitions. So I think the recent acquisitions is going to add a lot of value in terms of top line, in terms of profitability over the next say 1 to 2 years. As of now, we have a hold on the stock. We believe that the opportunity in the gaming space in India is still a very large market to cater, and I think the company has a very long runway to grow. But I think if one were to look at the next 2 to 3 years, in the absence of any formidable competitor, at least a listed competitor, I think Nazara definitely should do well. I think the only key factor to watch is what kind of earnings growth do they present, because obviously the stock has moved up by almost 40 odd percent, and despite the fact that GST has increased, I think the market has digested this fact very well. So I think we have got a hold. I think on dips, this could be a good acquisition to one's portfolio. So I think from a broader perspective, housing finance companies should do well. If you look at the quarterly performances of Q1 of most of the housing finance companies, I think numbers have been pretty solid. Plus, hopefully when the rate cut does come in, I think that is also going to be another cushion and sentiment booster for these companies. I think overall, the housing finance sector is doing well because real estate, on the other hand, has also been doing very well. And I think as far as PNB housing is concerned, it's got a good cushion in terms of its customer base, in terms of its balance sheet size. And more importantly, I think it's a well-established player in the housing finance space. Clearly, liquidity has been quite comfortable. And clearly, I think my sense is that if they move aggressively in the next, say, 1 to 2 years, I think obviously in terms of return on equity, in terms of asset quality, a lot more improvements could get reflected in the numbers. So I think, at these levels, the margin of safety is definitely pretty good. The downside is capped. And I think over the next, say, 12, 18 months, this is one company where possibly, the re-rating could happen significantly. So I think even we are positive on the stock, but with a slightly longer term horizon. As far as Granules India is concerned, I think we would like to await the management commentary. Now this event which has happened, markets would obviously like to know what's the earnings impact for post this development. And I think until and unless there is some clarity, from the management in terms of the revenue loss, in terms of the profitability, I think it's better to stay away. I would not be surprised that the stock may remain under pressure for some more time. As far as the chemical companies are concerned, I think one could see a little bit of a tepid quarter two. Quarter one has also not been very good. In fact, some of the companies have not met up to their expectations in terms of margins, in terms of top line growth. I would believe that maybe the second half for the chemical companies could be a lot better. I think apart from global factors, domestically also prices have started inching up, but I think yet we need little more clarity on the sustainability of these prices. So I think all is not lost, but yes, I think at these valuation, somebody who's a contra investor can take a small bet. Chemicals is a very interesting space, and we believe that if at all the second half turns out to be better, then I think a lot of money can be made here. So I think we are positive on stocks like Atul, Deepak Nitrite, something like Deepak Fertilizers, even a Navin Fluorine. But I think these are slightly long-term bets where the time horizon is at least 12 to 15 months. I think, if you talk about the entire gold and jewelry space, I think these companies have been doing extremely well. I think gold as a asset class has now started picking up, and I think typically post GST, most of the organized sector players have started doing very well. As far as Kalyan Jewelry is concerned, they enjoy a very strong geographical network, a very strong product bouquet, and most importantly, a very strong brand. So I think numbers for the second half, specifically when the festive months come up, are going to be in fact more robust compared to the first half of this financial year. So we are pretty positive on the gold and jewelry space. Apart from Kalyan, I think there are many other noticeable players which actually operate on a location-wise basis. Like Senco Gold is a large player in East India. Kalyan is largely present in the south. But I think clearly this is an interesting space, and we believe that any dips here should be used as an opportunity to accumulate.